Okay, so I see a bunch of people arguing about who to pick from the SSR Selector and Etheria restart, and obviously, it's going to depend on who you rerolled for, because if it wasn't already obvious, you don't want to touch the Selector until you've already rerolled and are happy with your account. This is already a guaranteed character, it will be there waiting for you. But I wanted to clear up some misconceptions about some characters and give you guys my thought process on the best meta picks, whether you're going to want to excel in PvP, PvE, or a jack of all trades for both. Spoiler alert, there is one character that is just plain better than the rest, but we'll talk about that when we get there. And this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm recording this during the beta, so there's no guarantee, for instance, that Kloss will be the limited character on full release, or that we'll all get a Lingluo after 7 days for the login event. We just can't know that yet. So I can only go by what's to offer as of CBT4. I won't be diving too deep into any of their kits, I just want to give you an idea of their roles and where they excel to help you guys make a more informed decision. So let's look at them. On the standard banner there are 12 options, and whichever one you select you are absolutely guaranteed to get within 40 summons. You have Hellkid, Chloros, Lilith, Shiada, Kloss, Tiamat, Rahu, Banton, Lingluo, Veronica, Hoyan, and Silence. And this is also going to be your opportunity to get your favorite character, your waifu, or whatever, and if that's the case, you do you, but at least this video will help you use them more efficiently. Hellkid, Red Element Damage Dealer. Hellkid is a cheat code to the game and basically trivializes all content. The thing that makes him unique is the fact that he adds an AoE shield to the whole team. That's right, a DPS, but he adds a shield. One that scales off his own attack and also damages all opponents. So because his attack and shield both scale off of his attack stat, he's going to be super easy to build. Oh, and also his shield grants immunity to anyone inside of it. Forgot to mention that. His DPS side is an AoE attack down and a single target stun. So for PvE trash mobs, he has the AoEs. For PvE bosses and PvP, he has the single target nuke stun. And in every content, he doubles as a tank with that shield. It could be argued that if you have Hellkid on your team, you don't need a tank, or even a healer for much of the earlier content. And in guild content, expect him to be borrowed constantly by your guildmates. Chloros, another red element damage dealer that is only single target based, and has some debuffs in skill 1. To make the most of him, the enemy will need to take damage 12 times. Where he will be most effective is in late game PvP when battles will go on for a while, and focusing down a single target is more important. This is further confirmed by his ability to prevent dead enemies from being resurrected. Lilith. This green element girl offers a ton of utility for both PvP and PvE. She's an HP scaling unit with an AoE stun that has a chance to give her an extra turn, and another skill that adds a speed down effect to all enemies and sets their strike prep, basically their spot in the turn order, to 0. Anyone that has played Summoner's War, this is Varad, the water dragon. Yeah, that good. She's going to be invaluable in both PvE and PvP, in both early and late game. She can be replaced with Obel, who does a similar thing, but not quite the same and not to the same degree that she does. In my opinion, she's one of the best options for this selector. Shiada. This blue element fox girl's main shtick is to steal buffs and then scale her attacks off how many buffs she has. If you plan to run a lot of buffs, she may be a good choice, but she will still take a while to build up to her ultimate, since you don't really want to use that until you've built up her soul flames. And her ability to steal buffs, while unique, caters her more towards PvP than PvE. Kloss. Now this is the limited character as of CBT4, but she's also an option in the directional banner. But since you'll most likely be re-rolling on the limited banner, you're pretty likely to get her from that, and in which case you wouldn't want her from here as well. But just in case, here's the basic gist of what she does. Another green element, this girl is an incredibly strong debuffer. What she wants to do is stack a debuff called Hacking Progress, which basically makes them slower, take more damage, and hit less hard. And that's just the Hacking Progress debuff. Within the rest of her kit, she has an AoE defense break as well as an AoE attack prep pushback. And when her Hacking Progress reaches 3 stacks, it becomes Hack In, which is basically Hacking Progress on steroids. With this kit and her very high base speed, she's going to be a real nuisance to deal with in PvP, and a great opener in PvE. She will be a very strong addition to any team. But like I said, I recommend getting her from the Raid Up banner, not from here. Tiamat. A blue element tank and a very good one. though she's going to need a lot of investment in the form of very high HP as well as defense and effect resist to really shine. What she does is drains her own health to damage and taunt the enemies and to add a shield and healing over time to the whole team. And then after she does her thing for a while, she transforms into her ultimate form where she just nukes the enemy team every turn. She will be decent in PvE and very good for PvP, but not for early game. Like I said, she requires a lot of investment to bring out her true potential, but most endgame PvP teams will include her. Rahu. Rahu is a green element defense scaling damage dealer who wants to build up stacks of something called Ra, which increases defense even more and allows him to do follow-up attacks when his teammates attack. In PvE he'll do pretty well, but in PvP your opponents will have access to many defense breaking units, namely claws, so he will be very easily countered there. Though with that being said, there will no doubt be opponents who don't know his kit and will have a hard time killing him, but we shouldn't rely on the stupidity of others in determining our pick. Banton. She's a red element support character with a very unique kit. She's your resident reviver. Prior to using her ultimate, she can bring a dead ally back to life temporarily, but after you use her ultimate, she revives them for realsies. And speaking of her ultimate, it is extremely good, and not just because of that. It also grants increased attack and crit damage to the entire team. Though if that's the effect you want her for, there are SRs that do the same thing, or a similar thing, namely Dorothy the Wisher and Yang. So only pick her if you want a reviver, but keep in mind, you don't need a reviver if the enemy's already dead or can't attack. Though DPS and CC are going to be more useful in my opinion. Ling Lua, blue element if you couldn't tell, and she's probably going to be the best healer in the game, as well as one of the only characters that can grant immunity. But we're all getting her for free after 7 days, so despite her obvious strength and widespread usefulness, I very much do not recommend choosing her here, especially since the dupes do very little for the characters. Veronica, red element. She's going to be a PvP powerhouse. One of her gimmicks is to steal the opponent's buffs and distribute them amongst your team and prevent your allies from dying for one turn. She also drains the enemy based on her own HP and gives your team a shield based on that amount. One thing about HP scaling units is that for high defense, if you get defense broken, that all goes out the window. But there's no HP break in the game. The best answer for high HP is damage over time, of which there are some, but not too many, and you'll learn to spot them, so you just won't take these high HP units into those battles with those particular enemies. The thing that makes her really different though is her passive, which increases her strike prep when she takes damage, and her ability to steal buffs. And this means that she has a very solid home in PvP. With that being said though, it doesn't mean she's going to be useless in PvP, she just won't be as useful there. Hoyan. Hoyan is an incredibly strong self-harming single target nuker that can prevent her own death and then revive her teammates. But she requires a lot of HP, and that combined with the fact that she harms herself means she's not too beginner friendly. She isn't AoE, and she's not even ideal for boss battles since her revive requires that she kills enemies. She will, however, be a powerhouse in PvP if that's your eventual goal. If you want to grab her, I would recommend that you have another character that can help you through progression in the meantime. Silence, a green support character. She has an AoE attack break and crit rate down debuff, and every turn grants a shield that reflects damage. And her skill 1 has an RNG debuff attached. She has a very interesting kit and would definitely be a strong choice for this selector, but perhaps not the best one. In fact, she makes it to number 3 on my recommended list, for her persistent shield and potentially debilitating debuffs. Number 2 will be Lilith, who will make sure that even if your team is underpowered, it won't matter, because they ain't attacking anyway, and will scale extremely well into late game and into PvP. And my number 1 recommended unit to choose for the directional banner is Hellkid, one of the hardest hitting characters in the game, with single target nukes for PvP and PvE boss content, AoEs for trash mobs, and a shield with immunity that scales completely off his attack. These make him an all-around monster in all content. So hopefully this helps you guys understand sort of where everybody falls in terms of power level and roles within the game. And with that being said, I'm gonna fly. See you in the next one. Bye.